So welcome, everybody. I want to thank you so much for turning into our first ever Entrepreneur Summit. We think you'll all get a lot out of this and walk away inspired. If you're joining, it's probably because you have that entrepreneurial spirit. Maybe you have an idea for a business or an invention that you're thinking about pursuing. I think the next hour will motivate you to take that next step in your journey. Um, and I will turn it over to Saba Kareem, who's going to moderate today's event.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin. Let's get started with today's arrangement. We are going to go live on Facebook, so stay tuned and feel free to share this with your friends if you like. We are going to put this on our JA Colorado page. All right, quick little intro for me. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I'm Saba Karim, head of pipeline at Techstars. Who wants to play a guessing game? Can you guess the accent of mine, whether you want to do the city or the country? Winner gets bragging rights. If this is the first time you're using Zoom, you want to go ahead and get familiar with the different features that you have. At the bottom, you'll see Q&A. Please ask questions. We want you to engage and take part in the conversation. We'll ask questions around the 30-minute mark. From time to time, you'll also see a poll pop up, so go ahead and answer the questions. And then third, please join the conversation here, where people are guessing my accent of Dubai, New Zealand, Australia. Yeah, but which city? Maybe narrow it down a little bit. And so a little bit more about me. So my job is to find companies across the world for all of our accelerators. So I have the most boring job in the world, helping spend $60 million a year to invest in companies around the world. So my hobbies include, okay, enough about me. I'm joined here by three awesome humans. We've got Mustafa, Siju, and Vanessa, and I'm going to let them all say hi one by one real quick. So Mustafa, take it away.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the introduction, Saba. It's great to be with you all today. My name is Mustafa. I'm the CEO and founder of Reza. At Reza, we make the world's most advanced light-up shoe technologies. We have a belief that lights have the power to inspire people, and our main mission is we want to inspire people to light their own path. We recently went through Techstars Sports Accelerator in Indianapolis. Grew our network drastically, and we worked with some of the top brands in footwear. We have a collaboration with Puma, and we've also have an influencer pipeline. We've been working with Floyd Mayweather the past few weeks, and we're really excited to enter market next year and have a good influence and a good impression on fashion and the whole ecosystem and industry. And people from our team have worked previously at Crocs, Puma, and Nike, and we're really excited to grow and to share our vision and light with the world.
Fantastic. I love that. Hold that show up again for us, Mustafa. Aha, amazing. We'll get to learn more about that. Thank you so much. Siju, over to you. Intro.
All right. Can you guys hear me well?
Totally.
All right. What is up, everybody? My name is Siju Wen, and I'm a 17-year-old entrepreneur from Toronto, Canada, who is trying to build a world-class skill set in order to solve some of the world's biggest problems. Currently, I'm an activator at the Knowledge Society, a human accelerator and the world's leading innovation program, the founder of Sigil Digital, a creative agency, and the visionary at Spark Teen, where we are launching a startup accelerator for teenagers. In my free time, I like to make YouTube videos and write on my blog, oneskillaweek.com, about topics that I think driven teenagers like you can really benefit from.
Awesome. Thank you, Siju. And lucky last, Vanessa. Take it away.
Hey, everyone. I'm a rocket scientist by training, but I'm the co-founder and CEO of Atomos. Atomos is a small startup based in Denver, Colorado. We are building and operating orbital transfer vehicles, or space tugs. These are satellites that can move other satellites around.
That's awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us today. I really appreciate it. For everyone on Facebook, welcome. Again, this is the JA Colorado Entrepreneur Summit. My name is Saba Karim, and we've got three awesome founders that are going to share their founder journey, and we're going to be taking questions from Facebook and also Zoom here. And so please chime in and let us know what your burning questions are so we can help guide you and get you the answers that you're interested in. So to start off with the most important burning question that I personally have, what are you currently listening to right now in terms of music? What's on your Spotify favorite playlist? Mustafa, Sejal, Vanessa?
Right now, I'm really into Dua Lipa's new album, and her song Levitating can't get out of my head.
Nice. My favorite artist is Lil Uzi Vert. I really respect his authenticity, but I kind of want to change up the question. Instead of like what type of music you're interested in listening to, like what type of things in general do you like to listen to? For me, I really love to listen to podcasts just played on while you're just working. Some podcast recommendations. I think something that's really relevant is My First Million. You can search that up, and basically the host interviews guests and they talk about how they made their first $1 million. And I also want to plug our moderator Saba's podcast. Saba says I took a few listens for a few of his stuff, and it's quite nice.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. What about you, Vanessa? What do you listen to?
Oh, I'm not really a podcast person, but I should be. But I'm currently listening to the Tron album by Daft Punk, an oldie but a goodie. Like, it helps us churn through the work so quickly.
That's awesome. I recently came across a Netflix documentary for Astroworld, and I really got into Travis Scott for some reason that I hadn't before, and I know everyone's always raved about him. So that's what I'm listening to right now. And the book that I'm listening to is Sapiens, which is my audiobook of choice. So great. Now you've got a little bit of intro about us. Oh, you're reading that too, CJ. What a coincidence.
I have it right here.
That's amazing. So Mustafa, let's get to know you a little bit more. Your job seems really cool. I don't know if you call it a job. You get to wear shoes and sell them, but no, tell me a little bit more about how you started your journey, and then what are some of the cool brands that you've worked with?
Yeah, well, I started my journey not too different from you guys and a lot of people on the call, I'm sure. When I was in high school, I came across this light technology and I glued it to my Nike shoes and wore them downtown Detroit where I grew up. And I noticed that people were stopping me on the streets asking where they could get the lights. And I noticed that people are really attracted to light because of what it offers and what it brings to you and how it inspires people. From there, me and my team, we went to South China where we developed really crude prototypes. They looked really not the best looking shoe at first, but just month after month, we kept reiterating to a point now where we think we have a really strong brand with a strong message that we want to share with the world. And something exciting that we've been able to do is work with Puma the past year. Many brands have been trying to develop light up shoe technology, and we think that we have an upper edge just because of our athletic approach and the flexibility of our lights. So we're really excited to license our technology to a brand like Puma and to really something that started in our basement in our house here in Michigan. What really excites us is sharing that with the world, and hopefully we get the chance to do that next year.
That's awesome. One thing we can agree on is in Australia, we call Nike and Adidas Adidas, but Puma is the one thing that's not an argument. So thanks for bringing a bridge across it. What about you, Vanessa? Tell us a little bit about, being a rocket scientist. How did you get into that?
So when I went to university, I had no idea what I wanted to be. I just did a physics mathematics degree because I found math kind of easy, or as we say in Australia, maths kind of easy. But I learned after I graduated that I hated being a physicist. I hated doing experiments, recording data, doing statistical analysis. What I really liked doing was actually building the experiment. And so I made the obvious switch to engineering, but I still wanted to stay cutting edge and in the space industry. So I did aerospace engineering masters. So I didn't get into it until I was until I was 22. So it took me a long time to find my passion. But you can definitely get started in rocket science and aerospace engineering earlier.
Love that. Very cool. Sejal, what about you? Tell us a little bit about Spark Team. I know you're passionate about that and other things, entrepreneurship. So What's your relationship there?
Yeah, so time to get into a little origin story. But basically, I was going through LinkedIn, and there were these two teenagers who created a fund to help fund COVID-19 projects. And so I thought that was really cool. I reached out, and then a week later, I found myself on a call with Kai and Kyler, the co-founders of Spark and we had an amazing discussion. What really resonated with us was the fact that going into high school, I think a lot of people, their notion of entrepreneurship is come up with an idea, second, create a PowerPoint presentation, maybe a website if you're fancy, and then submit it to a bunch of competitions. But this was completely against like how I felt internally, and it didn't resonate at all. And so we decided to try and change that. So initially we created the Spark Accelerator, and we launched our summer 20 batch where we invested in 12 startups, and it actually just finished now. And we got amazing successes from raising hundreds of $1,000s in funds to getting a whole bunch of different revenue. And now our pursuits is focused on building an incubator. And we kind of want to streamline the pipeline from incubator, where it's like the cultivation of ideas and then the actual actuation of ideas, all the way to the accelerator, where you scale the ideas to unicorn heights. And we've taken a lot of inspiration actually from Junior Achievement. And I personally went through the program, and I really like it. Yeah.
That's awesome. Great. So now you know, everyone knows a little bit more about our speakers and sort of a little bit about their personal journey. So I'm going to ask some questions to maybe 2 founders at a time. By the way, students and parents, please use a Q&A section to ask questions. So just click on the little comment cloud at the bottom next to where you might see a leave meeting, and ask questions, and we'll get to them in about 20 minutes. Or on Facebook, just drop your question as a comment there. Okay. So Sejal, while we're with you, tell me, like, when was the moment that you realized you want to be an entrepreneur, or like literally the second that you realized, wait, I'm actually a businessman?
I think it was like actually very unintentional. So when I was young, I really liked to read graphic novels. I would go to the library, and one of my favorite books was actually Captain Underpants series. I'm not sure if this is of your age, but basically it's about a principal who gets hypnotized into this comic book character called Captain Underpants, basically gains superpower, and he's just a grown man running around in his underpants. But what really inspired me from that was actually the 2 main protagonists, George and Harold, who created their own comic books. I was like, damn, that's cool. I kind of want to do that. And so in my free time, I found my way investing in like pencils, paper, like hassling access to a photocopier. I just started like making my own stories. And then soon I found like my friends gaining interest, my class gaining interest, and I just started distributing my stories, created like merchandise and a card game, and scaled it throughout the school. But unfortunately, one time when I went to the principal's office and I was like, yo, can I pitch this to the entire school at our next assembly? He unfortunately shut the whole thing down. And that was the end to my first pursuit. But it was like a first start. And that's kind of sparked my desire to ask myself, like, what else can I create, right? I created this comic book company in grade 5 after reading like these comic book characters that I like. What else could I do? And at the time, I didn't really know what entrepreneurship was, because I just like doodled comics and then just like led a team and then distributed that, right? But it wasn't until like high school where I put a term on it, like, oh, this is what I'm doing. Oh, this is what I love. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Vanessa, what was your first foray into entrepreneurship, and when you realized you might be a businesswoman?
So before I moved to the US, I was working in Germany. So I was working for the German space agency equivalent in research. And after working in a position for a year, designing new rocket engines, new rockets, went to my boss and I was like, what value are we bringing to the world? What is the purpose of our department in the space agency? What is our mission? He didn't know. What value could a research group like this bring to the world? So kind of took it on myself to do some exploring and found that there were so many new companies who were looking to address very real problems in the space industry. And some of our designs technologies could address that. Trying to convince my former manager to work with startups or even industry, even large aerospace companies is very difficult. Research and commercial space is very separate in Europe, less so in the US. And so, Saba, I don't know if you know this, but I got together with some friends and we hosted a Techstars startup weekend back in 2015.
No way.
And from that startup weekend, there were 3 companies that were incorporated. One was a winner, declared the winner of the event and got a lot of mentorship. And there are 3 companies that are still going today. And one of them is actually a vendor of ours. And so that was the first foray into entrepreneurship, in creating an environment where these people could come together, pitch ideas, form companies, and get investment. And then our own company, we started late 2017, early 2018, and it was based on research that I had done previously. Again, working the same job. I had a project that I delivered to my manager. So he had asked, Vanessa, how do we reduce the cost of access to space? And after some months of research, came back and said, hey, the solution is this. We need to break up launch into 2 segments. We need to use rockets to get satellites and payloads to space. And then we should be using a different way to get those payloads and satellites to their final destination in space. So essentially, I was pitching Atomic, saying we should be building orbital transfer vehicles. But that was shelved, and we continued optimizing and creating new designs for the same rocket engine technology that we've been developing for 60 years. So that really inspired me to create Atomos as a business, because there was a problem that needed to be solved, and there was a very clear path to solve it. And so moved to the US, and eventually, after a couple of years, did start the company and got investment to do so.
That's fantastic. It sounds similar to the Elon Musk story of realizing that there's a very cost inefficient way of making rockets. So
yeah. I mean, working in industry, you encounter problems and you come up with ways to solve them that a lot of the normal industry players won't pursue. This is why we have so many startups popping up.
Yeah, that's awesome. Changing gears a little bit, Mustafa, why don't you tell us a little bit about a day in the life of being the CEO of a startup? What is it? It's 4 o'clock. So it's 5 o'clock where you are right now. Like, what did you get done today? What did your day entail?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I literally think that Vanessa is the female Elon Musk. That's just and the accent.
No. Elon Musk is a female Vanessa.
Yeah. So my day as a entrepreneur has changed so drastically from yesterday to what I was doing a year ago. So a bit of background, how we came to this place where we just had a productive summer and we're heading into our fall production. So I'm 21 years old. And after I finished my sophomore year at Michigan State 2 years ago, I told my parents that I'm really passionate about this idea and I really want to take it full time. And I was really lucky that they understood what we were building. They saw the value in it. And I essentially left school. And since then, I've been working at home, trying to make Reza a reality. And we're at a point now where most of our day is spent fundraising. We just came out of the Techstars Sports Accelerator in Indianapolis. And we were one of the earliest companies to get into the program. A lot of other companies had raised millions of dollars in funding. They had very credible people on their team. We essentially had an idea for a shoe, a couple cool people around us from big companies, but didn't really know our strong purpose and what we are as a brand. And the past 3 months in that program, we were able to drastically grow our network. We met with some of the top people in sports, in fashion, who told us what our business model should be and how we should change. And something that we found difficult to really understand is just taking on advice, understanding whether that's good advice or bad advice. So a lot of people told us that we should be a more athletic shoe for night running or be a more fashion shoe for the fashion crowd. And it was really a proud moment for us that we could decipher which advice is right for us and come to a point which we know now what Reza is and how it impacts people's life. And then from following Techstars, we've been doing fundraising. So if anyone has any questions, about fundraising, I'd be happy to talk about that because that's a whole journey in itself. Essentially, we've been carving our pitch to investors and showing them what why Reza is different, why we have differentiation in the market, and what it's going to take for us to be successful. So that comes down to having 4 or 5 meetings a day. And something that I found recently that is really gives me optimism is just seeing that how you can grow in pitching to people over the course of weeks and months. So flashbacking a year ago when I was pitching Reza and talking to potential investors and high profile people, compared to now, I just think it's a huge accomplishment of the way that we are able to understand our market and really go in depth. And I think that just happens with being on the road to entrepreneurship. You just get so much more defined in your business, in your model, without you noticing. And then from there, we're really excited that we're actually going to be going to Taiwan in a couple of weeks. And we'll be there for 3 months, finishing our supply chain and finishing our first run of shoes, which has been a couple of years in the making. And we're excited to spend some time there and make our shoes reality and bring to market.
I love that. Mustafa, you mentioned something about if anyone needs any help with fundraising. To me, that just has hashtag Give First all over it. Do you want to quickly mention what Give First means to you and how you got exposed to that?
Absolutely, yeah. So for those who don't know, Give First is the mantra of Techstars, and every company that goes through the Techstars Accelerator is taught what it means to give first. And for me, it means that you're willing to help other entrepreneurs succeed, no matter the outcome or the benefit to you, because that's what we're trying to build as an ecosystem. And that's what ultimately leads to strong relationships. And for me, being, a young Techstars alum, there's been so many people who have looked out for me. Saba, you're one of those guys. And, we're really grateful for the people lending such a helping hand. And we hope to do the same as well at Reza.
I appreciate that. You're too kind. Thank you. Yeah, feel free to look up hashtag Give First on Twitter, and you'll see that what it means to the community. Vanessa, what about you? What's the day in the life of you, and what did you do up until 4 p.m. today?
So it's really interesting. So 90% of my job is the same as Mustafa's. I mean, we have to make sure we have enough money, have to set the vision, and we have to build the best team possible. So, and then being a small startup, you typically do something that's aligned with your own strengths. So with that engineering and program management background, I also do a lot of engineering. So a day in the life for me is 9 a.m., talk to one of our team members who is working on getting us some contracts with Space Force. And so talking to him about the progress of that. Next meeting, I'm talking to our engineering team and looking at next steps. So we're planning a series of tests that we're going to do on the propulsion system over the next few months. Then we might have, this wasn't today, this is way too many meetings for one day, might have a meeting with Space Force, talking about our technologies and pitching how we could work together and collaborate with them. This afternoon over lunch, I had a discussion with my co-founder about hiring. We are looking to grow the team. Then in the afternoon, we're putting together the cost model. So we're closing the books for the month and then also looking at how we're going to spend our money for the next 1-2 years, because we're also just starting to fundraise. And so we're presenting to investors, here is why we're a great investment. And here is why we're good stewards of the money that you're going to give us. So it's so much, but as the company grows, I'm looking forward to being able to focus on the things that I'm good at, which is mostly setting the vision and building a good team.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So we have a guest here, Robin. Thank you for joining real quick. Why don't you go ahead and say what we meant to say at the start?
Oh, well, I just want to welcome everyone and thank you so much for Techstars for this, and Kevin Hush Blackwell, our official sponsor. Yeah, I am Robin Wise, and I'm the CEO of Junior Achievement. And you may know that we are the organization that's getting you all ready for the global economy. And I've been listening to you all, to the panelists, and am so impressed. And I know that all of our guests from many places all over the world will be inspired by you all. And I want to thank you so very much for what you're doing for all of these young people and inspiring them. So thanks for the opportunity to say hi.
Of course. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And by the way, now that everything is technically running well, to answer the question that I had asked earlier on, I'm actually from Melbourne, Australia. So whoever guessed Australia is correct, and actually Vanessa's also from Australia. So you got two Aussies proudly on here. And in the comments, why don't we all drop in? What are your favorite startups right now? I want to get to know you all a little bit better. I see people from different parts of Colorado, Mexico. I noticed that there's someone from Shanghai. John, awesome. Thank you so much for joining. Someone in Starbucks in Boulder. Fantastic. So, this will go for another 30 minutes. We've got a lot of great questions lined up for these founders. Feel free to ask more questions like Scott and Sarah have. And hopefully this has been educational so far as well. So my favorite startup at the moment, I'll answer this, is DoorDash, just because sometimes I don't want to cook and I get food delivered, and startups rule the world and allow that. So, all right, back to it. So Sejal, how did you get opportunities as a teenager? So think about, I think you still are a teenager, but like, let's make it more tactical and actionable, right? Like, how do students here sort of get opportunities to figure out what they want to do?
Yeah, so I kind of want to go back to the give first part. Just the whole idea that you got to realize that everything in this world, or a lot of things, are driven on the exchange of value, right? For me to hire you, I require you to be able to contribute as much value to me, right? Whether it's through like the engineering aspect or just being a good leader, that really helps, and I'll be down to hire you. And so as a teenager, you might be thinking, oh my God, how do I contribute value? And a lot of times you can't, right? But you shouldn't be discouraged from that. I think the biggest way you can actually contribute value as a teenager is to follow up and show your personal growth. Remember, I think with young people, you don't want to measure them on their existing accomplishments, rather by their potential, right? These guys, they're really young. They haven't had much time to develop, but you want to really see their potential. And if you're able to show your potential, that really helps, right? And the way you do that is through really following up about your personal growth. I'll go into an example. For me, one big thing I did was that with everyone that I've met, I would always add them to my newsletter, which I'll actually ask you guys to join as well. And I would send out every month, I'd send out an update on what I was working on. And the fact that I was able to send out, oh, I did this. Oh, I got better at this. I worked on full stack development. I made this really cool video. That kept everyone within my network and everyone who've already left that initial first impression to know like, hey, Sejal's working on this. And the fact that they're aware of what you're working on, it rings a bell whenever they think about opportunities, right? I'm actually going to link a blog post later on called, it's by, I think it's David Perel, but it's on serendipity, the concept of serendipity. And serendipity basically is structured luck, controllable luck. A lot of times we think that luck is, oh my God, you need to be lucky, right? Luck is out of your control, but really there's so much that's in your control, right? Over quarantine, I met hundreds of people. I literally went onto like whatever platform, and whenever I saw someone cool, I just reached out, right? That's how I got involved in Spark-Teen. And then like after I set up that call, met them, had an awesome conversation and gained insights, I added them to my newsletter, kept them accountable. And throughout quarantine, I actually got a lot of different internship offers, right? This is at a period where everyone was struggling. Oh my God, internships, like, but I didn't really see that because it wasn't even on my mind that, hey, I want to do an internship this summer, but I got like founders and CEOs who I met before reaching out to me to ask like, hey, would be down to this, right? And that's all for the fact that I just updated them with who I was, what I was doing, and my personal growth. And that so far has actually really helped me grow my agency, Sigil Digital, and got clients for that. And in the future, it will also attract a lot of serendipitous opportunities. My next one, hopefully, is to intern at Techstars Toronto.
That's awesome. I hope Sunil and Tariq are listening to that, who are the program team there. Mustafa, what about you? Whether it's a quick or short, long answer, how did you get your opportunities to start as a teenager, thinking back to that specific age, right?
I think the main thing, Saba, is having a supportive network around you. Something that I was really grateful to have growing up in Michigan are adults and people who really value you as youth, because I think that Sigil's totally on point that, you know, that growth and trajectory you can show from 13 to 17 is so powerful. And I think once you find people around you who realize that, then it's super beneficial. And then also doing exactly what you guys on the call are doing, just taking initiative, coming to these meetings, talking to other teenagers who have interest in entrepreneurship. I think that pays dividends so much more than you can even know. And then when you do come to a point where you have a startup or you want to do one down the line, you have that culmination of knowledge, which is super valuable. So I think that, you know, the main thing is taking initiative, letting people know that you have bold and ambitious goals in entrepreneurship, and that will take you more far than you can imagine.
Yeah, I love that. So inspiring. So changing gears, you know, the opposite almost. Vanessa, what's a common misunderstanding about entrepreneurships that students should know about? Like, you know, you see all these different memes that's about being an entrepreneur. And it's sort of like, look, they act like you sit on a boat and travel the world and drive nice cars. And it's like being like, tell us what it's really like, or what's the misunderstanding that people have about being an entrepreneur?
So I think the single biggest thing that I see, and this is even in other entrepreneurs, is that people think an idea is really valuable. An idea is not valuable. It is really the first step in like a million steps. So there are companies who had the idea that we had before us. There are startups who started before us with the same idea. But the reason that we're still going and that we're still going to be successful is all about execution. It is all about grinding away. It's all about taking opportunities that come up. It's all about finding the right team. It's all about being very smart with how you spend your money. Like, in terms of the success of the company, like, we could have changed the idea that we're pursuing 10 times in the first year, and, you know, our trajectory wouldn't have changed. We probably still would have been on the path that we're on through talking to customers and through learning more about the problem. So, you know, if you have an idea and you're sitting on it and you think it's valuable, or if you should patent it, like, you have to realize that this is so insignificant compared to the rest of the journey of being an entrepreneur. So I'd say biggest misconception is putting too much value and stock in ideas.
Yeah, I second that 1,000 times. Idea is just the first step of many different parts of the business. So thanks for sharing that. What about you, CJ? What do you think is a misunderstanding about entrepreneurship that students should know?
Do you guys ever just like watch before you watch a YouTube video, you have those guys, they're in the garages with their Lamborghinis, like they're flexing whatever. I think that embeds a lot of like misconceptions that like entrepreneurship is about like, I guess, like becoming rich or like generating a lot of money, which money isn't the end goal. I think for entrepreneurship, money is actually a byproduct of generating wealth. And if your intention is to get money, then I don't think that's entrepreneurship, and it won't get you to that level. So if your intention is to generate wealth, that will really allow you to scale. And I think that's like the foundation of entrepreneurship. How can I actually generate value for the world? Why would someone want this, right? What change would this do?
I love that. And I want to second that and just add something to it. Like Guy Kawasaki says, entrepreneurs create great companies because they want to solve a problem, not make a fast buck. There's a lot of ways to make money, and most companies don't go on to make money. So, you know, if you're doing it for that reason, you're doing it wrong. And so it's super important for you to just have this, what I call, you know, passion, if not paranoia, that you can't sleep, that you really want a problem solved, and you will spend the next 10 years on it. You hear about companies that create something and exit within 2 years. That's possible, and the most common year is year 7. but most companies go on to exist for 10 years, if not more. And so don't do it if you're kind of just looking for that fast buck. So I love what you both said. This is a great question. Mustafa, do you mind sharing that as well? What's a misunderstanding about entrepreneurship that should know it?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with Vanessa's point about execution. And that's something that's for us, like a lot of people want to go into fashion space and into sneakers. And for us, we thought that it was going to be relatively not easy, but there's an avenue there. And I think the main thing that is important for you fellow entrepreneurs to understand, and what took us many years to understand, is that you just have to really stay persistent, and doors you think are going to be easy to open sometimes are going to be very difficult to open, and other doors that you think are going to be difficult to open, happen, before you realized. So for us, it was mainly about realizing that it is a process, and the movies like Social Network and other glamorized movies about entrepreneurship, I don't think any of us could really relate to that, because it's the total opposite. It's staying up, it's being away from friends, being away from family, and there's beauty in that as well. And it's a lot of fun, but it's definitely a sacrifice you have to make when going forward.
Yeah, it's so true. TV, there's nothing. Yeah, the reality of it is so different. Mustafa, can you share? And we're about to open up for Q&A from the audience. I see some fantastic questions here. I forgot to mention the question that gets asked and gets the most upvotes, we're going to send out some swag. So if you haven't asked a question, ask it now, and the question with the highest number of upvote thumbs up will get some branded swag from us. So look out for that. So before we open up for Q&A, Mustafa, what's the greatest challenge that you think you faced in high school? It doesn't have to, it can be anything. Help us understand who you are, and it could be business, it could be personal. Your greatest challenge.
Yeah, well, in high school, I think like a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs, I always struggled to fit in. I moved to America when I was 8 from England, and my parents are from Pakistan. And I always felt like I was different from a lot of peers, and I had different interests. And that's something that I've come to embrace from leaving high school and going into college and into the real world. I always found it hard to fit in, but I think that's also when you don't fit into a certain group of people or friends, then that's also great benefit, because it means you get to learn from so many different people and so many different voices. So if I could go back to my high school self and just tell myself one thing, I would just say that really be proud of who you are, and embrace the different parts of your identity, because it's what makes you special.
Love it. And Vanessa, what's the greatest challenge you think you faced in high school?
So I think similar to Mustafa, I guess I didn't feel like I didn't have much confidence at all. And so I overcompensated by being a people pleaser. And so I was always a friend who made a birthday cake for the group and organized events and always said yes. And it was only after really when I was like in my mid-20s and in Germany, where I was like, wow, I need to be steelier. I need to push back. I need to really stand up for what I want instead of trying to make everyone happy. So that was one thing that I would definitely go back and tell my high school self to do differently.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. By the way, thank you all again. I know we're going to say thank you many times, but thank you all for opening up and just sharing so much about yourselves and your business and your personal life. All right, we are at the 15-minute mark. We are going to start answering questions live on air for all the ones that we're seeing upvotes. To kick it off, I've got someone who's going to join from, I think it's called Monarch High School, that's going to ask a question. So Ava, why don't you introduce yourself real quick, tell us about you and then your question.
Right. Hi, I'm Ava Dascoli. I'm a senior at Monarch High School. I'm interested in entrepreneurship because I'm super passionate about business ever since I started participating in DECA and the high school business program at my school. One thing I've really liked about this panel so far is that how everyone has a different everyone had a different way of finding their passion for business, which is always really interesting to me. Everyone's story is always different. So my question is, who is someone that is inspiring to you as an entrepreneur?
That's a good one. Right. Thank you, Ava. All right. Why don't we go around and let's try and fire through all the questions that we've got here, everyone, or panelists anyway. We'll always do it in alphabetical order. So Mustafa, who's someone that's always inspired you?
Definitely my mother. My parents, they came to America, a country they didn't know, and they sacrificed a lot to learn the language and to really become accustomed. And my mom, she started her own home healthcare company where they helped a lot of patients, and it's something she did for many years. So I would definitely say my mom, also my dad, but particularly my mom, I think is the biggest entrepreneurship inspiration to me.
I love that. You make me feel not as sweet as you for saying my answer is Steve Jobs. As you can see, I've got hung up here behind me. My biggest inspiration has always been Steve Jobs, entrepreneur, innovator. And so I use all of his products or Apple's products now. So that's my answer, Sejal.
Mustafa, you actually stole my answer. Shout out to my mom. She works so hard just to give me the opportunity to do what I do. Thanks, Mom. I'll also give another answer. George Hotz, the CEO of Comma AI. This guy's just so freaking cool. Okay, he hacked the iPhone when he was 17, and currently he's Comma AI. He's basically building this device that you just install in your car, and it makes your car autonomous. So it's like competing with the likes of like Elon Musk's Tesla, except that rather than just being an entire like $50,000 car, it itself is just like $1,000 device. So it's wicked cool. And I just love him as a person. He live streams on Twitch, like him programming, and you could see his thought processes. And I'm like, holy cow, this guy's so interesting. I would totally have a conversation with the guy.
Awesome. Vanessa, yeah, who's your biggest inspiration? Answering Ava's question.
So I think an answer that everyone knows is Elon Musk. And 5-second answer as to why is everyone said this is not possible. And he went and revisited their assumptions and was like, no, actually, I think it is. And I'm going to go do it.
That's amazing. I love that. All right. Quick fire round of answers through all the questions that we're seeing here. Looks like Scott is winning this so far for some Techstars swag with the highest upvotes, but we'll see how this goes. So everyone, what is the hardest part of starting a company, brand, or etc.? And what did you persevere through? What did you do to persevere through the hardest times? My quick answer is just focus. Knowing what I want to solve long-term makes up for it, and just working really, really hard to know that the end goal is where I want to, and everything's going to have hard times. Whether you're working for someone else or in your own business, like I think working hard is an important mantra for everyone. So end goal in mind.
Yeah. Could you repeat the question?
What did you do to persevere through hardest times in building your company?
Right. I think for me, it comes down to the hardest part is your mental clarity. So if you believe that you can do something versus believing you can't do something, that's going to be the main barrier. And for me, in my experience, I noticed that if entrepreneurs who tend to have more a belief in themselves or were able to accomplish, that was more important than raising money, than business model, than partnerships. Just believing in yourself is, I found, the hardest thing to overcome and the most effective.
Actually, can I go after Mustafa? Because my answer was going to be similar. So like the end of 2018, we were two co-founders. We were nearly out of cash. We had a very bad breakup with a former co-founder. We were fundraising, and investors didn't understand the value that we brought and didn't believe we could realize it. And so that was the biggest challenge. And having to restate our self-belief and reestablish our confidence so we could continue persevering and be successful. That was the hardest thing. And we only overcame it through really helping each other as two co-founders.
Nice. I think one that would resonate a lot with the high schoolers is you just got to stop caring about what other people think of what you do. I think we're very social creatures. Humans are mimetic. One quote I really like from this book I'm reading right now, it's called Man's Search for Meaning. I think it goes something along the lines of those who have a strong enough why can endure anyhow. And basically, like, if you're grounded enough and if you have self agency over what you do, you're able to like endure and overcome like your own insecurities of like caring what other people think of you. And plus, like, if you're able to pursue it, like, once you get to a certain point, they will turn to respect.
Now, I want to jump in and add one thing to that. You can't ignore what everyone says because some of it is really valuable advice. You have to filter out the crap.
Yeah.
And really work out what is actually good feedback, as critical and painful as it is, and use that to help yourself. So slight twist on what Sejal said.
Yeah.
Good catch.
It's funny, isn't it? There's so much advice out there. Sometimes it's never give up, no one to give up, no one to give up. So you just figure out what's the most relevant to you. All right, Sarah's asked a great question here. 2-word answers just to challenge you a little bit for this quick fire round. As a young entrepreneur, what do you wish you would have learned in school, elementary, middle school, or high school? My answer is taxes. I wish I learned how to do taxes in college.
I've got one.
Perfect.
The history of corporations.
Oh, interesting.
I'd say how to network better. I think school could do a good job telling you how to talk to people and how to portray your ideas. Maybe that's because I didn't do good in my English classes, but that's one thing I would put in.
I would say mental models, mindsets, philosophy.
Do you have a book for that? Because you've been showing a book for almost every answer.
I have my blog, oneskillaweek.com. I read about stuff on there in this topic.
Okay. Where do you get good answers? Where do you get good ideas, crew?
Real problems that you want to solve. So if you have a problem, chances are other people also have that problem.
Love it.
I would say friends. Just having a group of friends who you can bounce those ideas off, learn their problems and their different experience as well, is super effective, more than yourself in a lot of scenarios.
Yeah.
Seek perspective, seek knowledge.
Yeah. And I think good ideas are around you. Think of the last time you said, bloody hell, or maybe, oh crap, like what was something that was broken that you're like, I wish this didn't happen. That's a problem that you can solve. Vanessa's laughing because bloody hell is a very Australian way of saying, oh crap.
I'm probably the only person on this call who's ever said that in their lives. So.
That's so funny. All right. We're going to fire through all these questions, one person at a time. I'm going to pick a person for it because these are great questions. So Mustafa, what is the single most important quality for entrepreneurs?
Persistence. If you're able to have an idea, that's great, but you have to just get up every single day and keep being persistent. Don't ever, when things get hard, that's not when you go to bed. That's when you stay up and you figure it out. Being persistent more than anything.
Vanessa, love that persistency. Vanessa, is now a bad time to start a business because of COVID?
It really depends. Obviously, don't start a retail business or where you need people to come in person. But this is not a bad fundraising environment if you need investment. And we have the technology to work remote. So if you can develop a product or if you can work with a distributed team, like there is no reason not to start a company now.
Yeah, I second that. Sejal, you're going to high school right now, is that correct? And how do you manage everything?
Yes, I'm in grade 12 doing 3 AP courses. I'll tell you a little secret, okay? There's something called, like, as someone who's trying to hire people, I learned a little stuff about outsourcing, right? There's a lot of work that's redundant, and if you can outsource it or at least collaborate with your friends, that really helps. There's a technique called time blocking, which basically you're just intentional about every hour of your day. Try and use that, right? And really, I think one challenge is just, what if you could finish all of your schoolwork, school priorities by the end of school? So at 3:30, could you just finish schoolwork? And then from 3:30 to like whatever you sleep, maybe like 12, right? You just work on whatever you want, right? And I think that's a lot more feasible now that a lot of it is like hybrid models, or maybe a bit of in-person models, or some just completely online.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Um, let's see, a couple more minutes for a few more great questions. In the order that I'm seeing it, who's a mentor that you have, Vanessa, that you learn from on a weekly basis, daily basis, involved in your business?
So, there's a difference between advisors and mentors. Mentors are people who know me really well and are able to say, Vanessa, you're bullshitting. You're very bad at that. You need to give it to someone else. So, we have a couple of close friends who are on our advisory board just to keep me accountable. And they're people who I met in the space industry and through Techstars as well. And actually some of our investors do the same thing. We also have some great mentors who I met in the space industry who work for SpaceX, who work for NASA, who work for big defense primes. So, have a whole group of people who I can just ping as I'm needed, or who will reach out and make sure I'm walking the line.
Yeah, I love it. Mustafa, second last question, and then I've got one for everyone to close out this awesome hour session that we've had. Do you think it's necessary to be the first to market with a new product or service to be successful?
No.
Second that as well. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
you definitely don't have to be first, but there has to be some differentiation. That means that you're 10x better in some scenario. For us, it was just our light up shoes are super flexible and they look really, really cool. We tried to be less tacky as we could. So no, you don't have to be first. There's been light up shoes for 30 years and we're going to enter the market next year. So you have to be the best in some area.
I love that. Good segue for everyone's final thoughts. Mustafa, thank you so much for taking some time to do this. What's one advice you have for all the students listening or parents? And what's one way that we can give back to you for spending your time here? Do you want to share a link?
I think the best advice that I want to share is that I think that everyone on this call has so much potential to start their own company. I didn't realize that when I was your guys' age, but really you can do anything if you put your mind to it. And there's a whole community around you that's ready to support you. And yeah, if any of you have any questions, please add me on LinkedIn, Mustafa Sayed, and also rezaforward.com, sign up to our waitlist, and hopefully we can get some shoes to you soon. But it's all about the community around you. And I look forward to hearing about JA and Techstars and playing part in the ecosystem.
Amazing. Thank you, Mustafa. Sejal, what's one tip you give to everyone listening, and then one thing you can share that we can get connected to you and what you do?
I want to double down on what Mustafa said. He asked you to reach out to him or like connect with him, all that stuff. Now, I think the best advice is whoever you find interesting, whether it's just something you're scrolling down, like, oh, this author of this blog post, or maybe, oh, this like CEO of this cool company, just reach out, try and like set up a meeting and talk. And really, trust me, you don't really know what you're going to get out of it, but that's where like serendipity comes in, right? You just don't know what potential opportunities you can get. And that's like the beauty of it. And if you can do that consistently, like if you met someone really cool every week, it's going to change your life. It did for me. And regarding my link, I actually created a Notion page comprised of a lot of different action items, as well as like further plugs for my stuff. One thing I would like to ask is, I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And if you could subscribe to my YouTube channel, I would appreciate it. And I'll also put this live stream on there too. But yeah, that's a shameless plug.
No shame in promoting yourself. We're going to support each other. So that's fantastic. Lucky last, Vanessa, what's one tip you give and how one thing we can give back to you?
All right. So my one tip is to be curious and to challenge assumptions. So, hate to give advice without being specific. So, working in the space industry, I would ask, like, why did we design it this way? Why are we using that component? Why have we made this assumption? And in some cases, it was just because that was the normal way to do it without any other good reason. So to break the norm, you need to be curious, challenge assumptions. The plug is keep an eye out for internships. So we're based in Denver, Colorado. We're not just looking for engineers, we're also looking for other disciplines.
Wow.
So 2021, work for a space company. So,
That is so cool.
all right, that's it. Thanks. Thanks, Saba.
Awesome. Thank you all. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Vanessa, Siju, Mustafa, and everyone that allowed this to come together. My tip is just do things that you love. And if you're not happy and you're doing things that aren't making you, at peace or content, then you should stop doing it. Or if you are looking to do it, like explore and just try everything. Business or entrepreneurship might not be for everyone, but it might be for you if you give it a shot. My plug is go to techstars.com or go to JA website. Like, we do a lot of different entrepreneurship events. We put on accelerators. We just do anything that helps you sort of figure out how to change the world for the better. And maybe we can support you in it. So that's all we have time for. We are going to see who wins the vote, and we'll send out an email to say, hey, you won some Techstars swag. And we'll probably send a follow-up email with all the different links we mentioned as well. So if you enjoyed it, thank you so much. Please provide that feedback to the organizing committee. And just as a awesome shout out to the survey responses I can see here, 71% of people said we learned a lot. 29% of people said we learned at least a little bit and thank you, which means that's successful, and I love that. And the most inspiring part now is when we ask the question, are you more interested in starting a business now? 58% of people said, yes, I think I'm going to look into it now. So our job is done. Thank you so much. Hopefully this was helpful. Have a good rest of the day, evening, and hopefully see you again soon. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.